What's up, everybody? Welcome to On the Record, the Fat Records fan podcast, where we're going album by album, side by side, and roughly chronologically through the whole dang thing. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, and I'm joined by Alex and Josh. And today, we're going to talk about a record that I don't like very much. Um, I so kind of coming in to these, I write down before I start listening and researching my feelings on the record, um, and my feelings were fairly harsh. I don't get why anybody would choose to listen to this band over so many superior, similar sounding bands. Like you could listen to Lagwagon. A lot of these songs kind of sound like Lagwagon songs. You could listen to the good No Effects songs. You could listen to Lifetime. And I think I prefer Leche con Carne to this record. How are you guys feeling about this record after I've gotten off?
If I thought I was gonna go into this being like the lone, excuse me, my voice is destroyed. I thought it was gonna be like the lone defender of this album. And then I went back and I was like, I thought I really liked this. And like it turns out I don't like it as much as I remember, like at all. Like the hits I like a lot, but I was really surprised going back to it that this actually has like aged poorly for me.
Yeah, I didn't have any kind of familiarity with this record outside of one song, which was On the Outside. And after Leche con Carne, which, you know, I had no expectations for because I was never really much of a fan of No Use for a Name's work. I was like, oh, okay, well maybe this means that I'll kind of get on board. It's sort of in the way that Snuff has been slowly winning us over. I thought maybe No Use for a Name could be one of those bands. But then I listened to this record and I listened to it like 5 or 6 times, and every time I'd be like, wait, I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah. It all just blurs.
Yeah, it just kind of passed over me and I was like, whoa, okay. So yeah, I'm with you.
All right. So let's let the bloodletting begin. The first song here is The Answer
Okay,
is
you gonna do the
Still
liner
No.
notes?
Oh, you're right. We can.
Ben
we
is
can cut,
really dead set on just getting this record over with.
we can cut that part out.
No way, we should leave it.
Or,
That's
or
hilarious.
I'm gonna leave it in, and it's gonna be funny.
Warts and all, baby.
Released. This album was released on August 19th, 1997. The band lineup, as they're listed in the album's liner notes, is Tony Sly on vocals and guitar, the disgraced professional wrestler Matt Riddle on bass, Rory Koff on drums, and Chris Shiflett on guitar. Oh, has he always been?
Nope. Both Matt
Okay.
Riddle and Chris Shiflett are new on this record.
Yeah.
Okay. This was recorded at Motor Studios. It was engineered by Ryan Mean Joe Green. And it was produced by No Use and Sir Ryan the Green. And the executive producer on this was Mike Suge Burkett.
Wow.
I like the implication of that is going to be that he's going to put a hit out on Joey Cape or something.
Well, at least Joey keeps short enough that Mike could probably hang him from a balcony like Suge did to Vanilla Ice back in the day. Or Mike just ran somebody over with his car.
Yeah, I'd like to know why they listed him as that in the liner notes, because that's literally why I put that qualifier on here. It's like I didn't make that up. That's how it's written in the liner notes, apparently.
So this album, as you may have guessed, was written by No Use for a Name. All right, so let's talk about this record. Let's get into side one, and let's talk about The answer is still no. Um, I don't know what turns me off to this band so much. I think it's Tony Sly's voice. I don't like the way I don't like the way he sings. The music just kind of sounds like Lagwagon or No Effects, but not as good. I thought this song was maybe about his mom.
Why his mom?
The kids stand outside and took a hand with her to school lines.
Oh, I guess I was like I had written like, is it about a negligent parent? Question mark.
Okay, yeah.
I guess I didn't. I didn't know if there was a clue as to why you picked mom over dad or whatever. But
The her when referencing the hand, but
oh, I thought.
I guess it could be both.
I guess I read that as like the her was referring to the kid or something. I don't know. I guess I just read it wrong.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah.
maybe not. Maybe you're right. But could also, like, the way I was reading it too, it seemed like maybe it's maybe a negligent step parent because of the line about because he says, and it's like in the last verse, I guess, about the not taking the kid to school but also not being their responsibility. It's like, oh, so I mean, if you're a parent, you are responsible for your child. The only time it's not your responsibility is if you're like not related to them. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be about a step parent. Yeah,
but it's unclear. And to your point about, I mean, especially even like this song, like what a weak leadoff track, man. It's just whatever. There's just no teeth to it. It's just I lacks for as fast as it's going. It doesn't have any kind of.
There's like no punch, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just there's no like emphasis on anything. But I
No.
can't tell if it's the band or if it's the production. Because like Ryan Green has produced a ton of stuff already that we've listened to, and it's all been pretty punchy. So I mean, I guess he's probably not the problem, but I don't. Yeah, there's no.
I think it's the.
I feel like it lacks any sort of like musical emphasis, kind of.
Yeah. But I was having the same problem. It just felt so blah. And I started to like really think about it more as I was, because after listening to a record 5 times and you can't remember much of anything about it, there's definitely like a problem.
yeah,
Yeah. Like going through it, the only songs that continued to stick out for me are the ones that I remember from like compilations and singles and music videos and shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
Like you said, going back through the album 5-6 times, for me, those are the only ones that continued to stick out, to be quite honest.
Mm-hmm. But I started to try and like I went to the point where I was like, well, okay, let me actually listen to Double Platinum, which is what we're going to be talking about next on the next episode, just to see like what is there anything that's jumping out at me? And something that jumped out at me that I didn't expect to was the drumming.
Yeah.
The drums, when you listen to Double Platinum versus this, Double Platinum, I felt like this record doesn't have much going on in terms of the style of the drumming. Like there's
it's
almost no.
It sounds like they got Vinny from Less Than Jake to play on the fucking record.
The fills are either like really boring or they're just non-existent. Not that I know,
just like drum rolls and stuff.
Not that I know a lot about drumming, but like when you listen to the just between those two records, like I'm noticing like there's just a lot more flourishes and like style to Dave Ron's drumming as opposed to Rory's on this record. I don't know but like it's so repetitive, and I think that's what part of the problem here is how repetitive a lot of the drum tracks are.
Big time. That's in at least three separate songs in my notes. I mentioned the drums.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, just on the same thing. I mean, it feels like we're recycling drum parts, and some
Mhm.
songs, like
Yeah.
some songs end up sounding completely like songs you've already heard
Mhm.
because you're listening to the same backbone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I do miss the era of the movie sound drops opening albums. I was always a big fan of that. So that's the one
Yeah.
thing that holds up for me in this opener, which I don't dislike this song a lot. It's one of the few that I still really dig on the album, but I love having that Glenn Ross clip opening up the album.
Well, we got plenty more records to talk about that are going to start with
Yeah,
flips and
very true.
misses. It's the 90s.
Okay. So moving along, Invincible. I kind of, I thought it was better than the first track, but still not great. I thought that I wrote down that "fool" was the word of the week. I think he used it in back-to-back songs here. Um, and it's a distinct word, so it's pretty obvious when you use it again and again.
It
Yeah.
rhymes with a lot of things.
People like that word a lot. I mean, I don't really take it as an insult when people call me a fool. I think that that's usually the point. When
Yeah, I
I'm
get
acting,
like a
when I'm
jester
acting a fool.
vibe when someone calls me a fool. Like, and like that's fine. That's kind of what I was going for.
Yeah, it's not that insulting. The song to me seemed to be about a friend with a drug habit. But I was at these lyrics were kind of hard to really sink my teeth into.
Yeah, it's kind of corny a little bit. I mean, it tracks for that band. Like,
Mm-hmm.
feels very like hard on the sleeve, emotionally speaking and stuff. But
Yeah.
a lot of bands can really pull it off, and I don't feel like it's aged super well with new fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading it as being about like a failed relationship with a selfish person who thinks they're hot shit. Um, and I would have been like really curious to know what this person was doing if they were, because he says that they're pretending to be a superhero, trying to save the world. Um, that doesn't track with drugs to me. I don't know if it's like, I mean, maybe that's
The
about a friend.
pretend you're invincible part,
Yeah,
I think
guess.
was
Yeah. Um, I don't know. It's
It's like kind of like a vibe of someone who thinks they can like fix everyone and everything too, a little bit. I think.
But that just doesn't track with drugs to me.
No, not at
Kind of
all.
put
Like,
that out. I don't know. That's why I was confused. Like it was pretty unclear. Um, I think this is. I think this is the. This speaks to the major problem. Looking at all of these lyrics on this record, he's not specific enough. It's not
yeah,
interesting. None of it's interesting. It's all very general. Um,
yes.
and because there's no specificity and it's so broad, it's boring.
yeah, because there's nowhere to like attach your own experiences to it.
Yeah, it's like every single one of these songs, I'm just like, I've heard something just like this before. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing to separate it from a whole bunch of other songs that we've even probably already talked about. He's not covering anything new. There's no new ground being broken lyrically on any of these songs. I mean, far from it.
No, most of the time you don't even know what the fuck it's about.
Or it's just so obvious that it's like,
Yeah.
whatever, forget, it's like, let's move on. But I will say that this is one of the best songs on the record for me. I was like thinking it at least has a little bit of intensity behind
Yeah.
his vocals that lacks from a lot of these other songs. So I think this is one of the best ones. It's still just kind of decent.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. He's probably more passionate on this and a couple other songs than on many of the points in the record.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of one of the better songs, I kind of liked "Growing Down."
Yeah, the
Um,
song's great.
I thought the hook to this song was really good, and I liked the Dickie Barrett guest vocals but also
Yeah,
fuck,
two episodes in a row.
Yep.
but also fuck Dickie Barrett at the same time. And I kind of thought the song lyrics to this one were like an expanded version of that one verse in Why Don't You Get a Job?
Oh God. Jesus Christ. Songs I
It's
did not think we would talk about in this podcast. Part 1.
it's like the music video part where the guy's squirting mustard all over himself, right? And
I
the
remember,
girl
but
is
I remember the video, but I don't really remember the lyrics to that song.
well, it was about a specifically like a dude that like booched off his girlfriend.
Yeah. Better
Right.
than that dumb
Yeah.
old Beatles song, that's for sure. What a stupid band the Beatles are, huh, guys?
Yeah, Offspring forever, guys. Fuck the Beatles.
I wish I could remember all the members, the names of the people in the Offspring, so I could just be like John Paul, George and Ringo. I don't think so. It's Noodles, Dexter,
Noodles and Dexter forever.
Dave and Mark, or whatever the two other guys' names are. Also, how has Noodles looked like he's been 50 for like 30 years? That dude looks the same now as when I was in high school, and he looked old then.
Well, I mean, I
Well,
guess
he's aged well then.
right. That's what I
Yeah,
was
I
gonna
just
say.
don't get it.
It's like a monkey's paw curse. You're like,
Right.
I want to look the same age forever. And it's like, well, okay, but you're gonna be 50 forever.
Yeah, but congratulations, we're gonna rapidly age you, and you're gonna stay this way for fucking ever. You know what though? No matter what, I'll give credit. Always give Offspring credit for two ridiculous things that I really love. One, on a major label, they recorded a 30-second song for a punk label that taught you how to make bombs. And then two, they went on the I forget what music award show it was. It's like something that doesn't even exist anymore. And they played a song about shooting people in traffic on national television. And they were like, yeah, who gives a shit? We're the biggest band in the world. We'll just sing this song about shooting people in traffic over road rage. Ballsiest, most ridiculous thing ever, but props to Dexter and the boys.
This is the best digression we could have ever had.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts on this song?
Not really.
No, I thought the song was fine.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty good.
Um,
It's aggressive and not overly like sappy. The Dickie Barrett thing, like we said, is pretty cool.
I mean, Dickie
That's
Barrett like kind
about
of
it for
steals
me.
the show, which is
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he
which is
does.
a little
yeah.
sad because he's only in there for like 10 seconds.
It's like a half of a verse or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
15 seconds, baby.
But I was like,
Uh.
when he popped in, I was like, oh, there he is. He's I guess
Yep. There's my favorite Tonight Show announcer.
he was probably like, imagine he was just doing the rounds after. It's like,
Right.
I
They were
mean-
all in like the same studio parking lot.
but this is
Dickie's just like going like 7 different rooms. I gotta go scream in the H2O record next.
yeah, this is the time period where they're
Yeah.
Mighty Mighty Boss Tones are at the absolute pinnacle of their fame. So I'm not surprised that he's probably gonna pop up on a couple other records unexpectedly or something.
Yeah.
So I don't got much to say about On the Outside. I thought it was forgettable in every way. Josh, you seem to maybe like this song.
This was I think the first No You, if I'm not mistaking it, it's probably the first No You song I ever heard. Because I'm pretty sure it's on Fat Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought the weird Irish, I think it's an Irish guy in the beginning. It's like I don't know what that clip is from, but
It's from a movie called Naked from
Oh, really?
1993. I don't know. I've never seen it, but that's what I dug up.
I really love the Katarina from Dance Hall Crashers pops up on the song. Does a lot of backing vocals. Honestly, like I think her voice adds a lot to this band.
Yep.
And it would have been cool to see her pop up on more stuff with them, or even just more stuff with bands like this.
Yeah, I have the same note. I think she's actually the standout part of the song.
Absolutely. I mean, if there was a whole record of Tony and her singing, I think it would be fucking rad.
Maybe we just switch to her.
Even that, I'd totally take that.
Yeah, I think this was, if not the first No Use for a Name song that I heard, it's one of the first for sure. And maybe it is the nostalgia playing off of that, but I think I think this is one of the best songs on here.
Absolutely.
It's, and it, honestly, it might just be because I know this song better than any of the other ones here. But it's decent. I don't hate it.
I do like that they outro with that like fade out solo. I think that's a cool little touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's one thing I'll give this band. They were never afraid to just toss like a solo in there. I always thought that was cool. At least changes things up a little bit in the song.
God, they desperately need it most of the time.
Yes, they do.
So a postcard would be nice. I thought the song was whatever, but I thought that the lyric, a selfish way to say I'm the only one that counts, is funny. I'm not entirely. I mean, I assume it's intended to be funny.
Yeah, a little tongue in cheek. Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
But this was the point where it really hit me that the album title is Making Friends, but all of the people in these songs sound like terrible friends.
I mean, that's the irony of it.
Maybe that's the point. Yeah,
it is the point, I think. I will say,
and then
the best part, actually, you know what? Sorry to interject. This is actually the best part of the entire record is the artwork, I think.
Oh yeah. We should take a moment to talk about the artwork. The artwork features a campfire, bunch of Boy Scouts gathered around the scout leader. His pants appear to be on, and he's singing a song. And then what else is going on?
Oh, and then you have a person in the background on fire. It's funny. I like it. I can truly appreciate the artwork. I think it's well done. It's like a nice illustration. It's got a
It reminds me of a really old like Mad Magazine, like when they would do like painted covers and things like that.
Yeah.
It has that kind of like vibe to it, that like dark humor vibe.
Yeah. It's great, honestly. It's really cool.
This song doesn't do a lot for me, but it is wildly catchy, and it makes me wonder how this band didn't end up being one of the ones that got plucked to get played on like rock radio. I know like on the West Coast they probably did a little bit. But I know like for us back in the Midwest and shit, like we only really heard these guys on, the punk comps and stuff like that. But for as catchy of a song as this is, it does surprise me that it didn't find its way to like a slight MTV rotation or something.
Yeah. Because I agree. The melody's decent. It is catchy. But I kept thinking to myself, I was like, so why am I not like able to like really, I guess, get into this song as much as I might want to after the first 30 seconds? Like 30 seconds in, I'm like, okay, this is a good one. And then I get to the end and I was like, okay, but it just stayed the same the whole time.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. And if there's nothing to change it up, it just starts to bore you. So either you need to cut the song in half so that the catchy part is like actually kind of stays in your head, or you get to the end and you're kind of like, all right, I'm done with this.
And these are already like pretty short songs for the most part as it is. So it's like, I mean, you really gotta, if you're having that chop songs that are these short in half, it's something's wrong.
And then lyrically, I thought the only interesting thing here, I thought, was the comment that comes at the end about a fake suicide. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Well, you should have explored that. That should have actually been like more the
like a bigger theme in the song,
the angle of the lyrics, because I'm interested in. I don't know what that means. What's a fake suicide? Is it just, I don't know. Maybe you explore that in a different way. But everything else is just kind of like, yeah, okay, we've heard this before.
Yeah.
Selfish and insecure.
I mean, I assume it's referencing people who, either attempt to, but like it wasn't really going to work. And it's like a cry for attention sort of thing.
Yeah.
Took a bunch of Tylenol and
Right.
had to get their stomach pumped.
But I think that's only one possible explanation of what that means. I think there's a whole bunch of different things you could spin that off as, like that idea. Like,
Yeah.
maybe it is a literal fake suicide, like he tried and never intended on actually completing, or maybe it was just all a bunch of bullshit. Like, I'm gonna do it, and then never does it. Who knows? But that could have been a far more interesting than what's written, you know, in the lyrics for this one.
Yeah. It could have been better. Secret. I wrote down,
Mm-mm.
I've heard this song a bunch before and I still think it sucks. And
This
I'm
song
not sure.
should have stayed a secret.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm literally talking about the song itself or like the type of song it is.
Yes.
Mhm.
Let's just go with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This song.
I mean,
hell out of
it
me.
kind of drags. Yeah, it just
Mhm.
kind of drags and plods its way through the, I don't know, 2.5 minute, 3 minute runtime, whatever it is.
Oh god.
I kept
It's just
checking
there.
to see
I
how
mean,
long it was. I was like, wait, how long is this song? It's the longest song here.
yeah, it's
Mm.
fine. I wrote a lot of these songs. I really am like, yeah, this song's fine. It's a song.
It's a good review tactic. I've used it much on Swingin' Utters.
It's hard. Yes, you did.
All right. Any other thoughts on side one?
No,
No.
I'm happy we're already on side 2.
Well, we've got a little question for everybody today.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Yeah,
exhausted.
let's take a break. Did either of you guys have an imaginary friend growing up?
I did not.
I don't think I did either.
I did. I don't think the imaginary friend was the really important part of it though. Like the imaginary friend was just there to be there. I had crafted an entire imaginary world on top of the world that we were in for a couple years as a kid, and kind of just lived there because it was more fun.
Mhm.
So there wasn't there were imaginary people that went along with that.
Interesting.
But they weren't, not the normal imaginary friend, I guess, the way people talk about it, I guess. Any recommendations, guys, for the audience?
As far as imaginary friend stuff, Drop Dead Fred's great.
Whatever.
Fred.
It could be
Drop Dead
could
Fred
be
is great.
things.
It's a classic. It's a classic tale of invisible friendship. The Machinist is kind of an invisible friend movie. He doesn't sleep and he goes insane and
Oh.
sees stuff.
Fight Club. That's a good imaginary friend movie.
There you go. That's like the ultimate invisible friend movie. Oh, God damn it. Alex, you said you had caught something that was pretty interesting the other night. No?
So last night I watched this movie called Dinner in America. Have you either of you heard of this movie?
No.
So I wouldn't expect you to have, because I had never heard of it. One of my friends, I don't even know how he found it. He was just like looking around on the internet for like just I guess like indie movies, and he found this one. But if you have Hulu, and this is obviously, we're recording this in November of 2023, so maybe by the time you hear it, you can't. But I would say check it out, or at least see if it's out there somewhere. But it came out in 2020. You're not going to recognize 90% of the cast. The people that you do recognize are in it for like a minute. Because Leah Thompson is in 5 minutes of this movie, maybe. And then
Weird.
everybody else is completely like people I've never seen before. But it's about a guy who sings for a punk band, and he's like just trying to scrape by, but he's trying to be punk as fuck. And and he meets this girl who's like a super fan. And I'm not gonna give it too much more away than that. This movie has a fucked up, weird energy to it. It's really funny if you like dark comedy. And it just like I kept thinking to myself, I was like, this is quirky in the way that Napoleon Dynamite is quirky.
Oh no, you may have just sold me out of this.
But
Yeah.
no, it's not like but Napoleon Dynamite has a completely different vibe. This is a very R-rated movie.
Oh, okay, all right.
This is not that. It just gave me that same type of like weirdness. Like it's
like uniqueness.
Yeah, it's weird on that kind of level in terms of the way the characters act and stuff, especially like the main female character. You're just like, what's wrong with you? And the further you go in, the more you start to understand. Like they reveal a little bit more, but yeah. It just surprised me, and like, yeah, it is actually, the music aspect of it does have more to do with it than it might seem when you first start watching it. But you go further into it, and you start to see more of that stuff. So I would say at least check it out. It is dark, it's fucked up, it's funny, and it's strange.
What was the title of that again?
Dinner in America.
Dinner in America. Okay, cool.
And I have never seen a movie with so many scenes of people eating food. So many scenes involve people eating.
Oh, it's got Griffin Gluck.
I don't know who is that.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I don't know who he is. He's in I've seen him before in things.
Okay.
I have no idea who he is. He was in a movie called Tall Girl 2. And he was in Tall Girl 1. I don't, that's such a, I guess representation matters.
Right.
Just the other thing about like the fact that people are eating constantly, it's never appetizing. It's always weird. There's people eating, and you're just like in the most unpleasant way.
They're all just eating like calamari and things that are not appealing whatsoever.
There's just something about it. There's just it's a weird movie, but I thought it was definitely like a worth sharing with other people.
Nice. Have to give that a whirl.
All right. Well, let's get through side 2. There will be more interesting things to talk about. So side 2 kicks off with Best Regards. I thought this was probably one of the best songs on the record. I did find the song to be very condescending to the person he's singing about, unless it's him himself. But I kind of hope the guy ditched Tony Sly at some point.
The lyrics are weirdly aggressive. It kind of feels like.
Well, he takes that like everybody else has had too much of you. I'm the only one that can, stomach you type stance with this person, and it's just like that's a shitty way to go about things.
The whole record kind of does have a little bit of that air, doesn't it? Like that's sort of like not quite self-righteous, but like bordering on it, I guess.
A little bit of martyry.
Yeah, that's perfect way to describe it, I think. The drums are really like they're just it's so boring that I find them distracting, which is a weird thing to say.
No,
but like
it's that
repeating pattern that Alex mentioned. Like all I hear is that over and over in the song.
Yeah.
I don't hear anything else except this awful, like repetitive drum beat.
Yep. My note was it feels extremely monotonous in terms of the drums, and because it just keeps galloping along, and that's all it does. But I like the solo that's thrown in at the end.
Yes, same. I have that in my notes too.
So my reaction to Revenge was that the band should just only play fast. the slow parts in these
Yeah.
songs kill the songs. Like,
And the slow songs just slow the whole record down
yeah,
dramatic, like
yeah.
a fucking Jesus. Yeah, by this point in the record, this is where it really, the whole like running together thing, I think really gets like severe in the last half.
Yes, it really does. I think of between the two halves, the second one, it just seems weaker because I kept like thinking to myself, I was like, wait, which song was this? I can't fucking remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the first side is like a really decent LP, or I mean EP rather. And then like you just throw another half of the record on there and it's like, man, it just keeps going.
I thought that like on Revenge, like the guitar solo is the only part of the song that really caught my attention. And I had to ask myself, like, why not make that the basis for the song? Take the cool solo and like see if you can take
Yeah,
that
build something around
that
that.
sound be the song and you build the song around it. But instead it's just like whoa, where's that? That's a cool solo. Where was that the rest of the song?
Yeah.
And then lyrically, this is like we're repeating themes already. There's not even that many songs in this
Yeah.
record, and we're repeating themes. It's like
Yeah.
another song about an insecure person who can't face their problems.
Yeah, somebody who just lashes out at all their
Yeah.
friends and that sort of thing.
It's like, how many times can you write this? Like, just do it once.
Yeah. And play faster.
Yes.
Maybe they can change things now. You know, they can change the approach going forward.
I do like that you're just like, yeah, play faster. This song is only 1 minute and 52 seconds long.
But think about how much better it'd be if it was 52 seconds long.
Yeah.
Slow parts kill songs. Although
Especially with this band.
oddly enough, I think that the next song is actually a good slower song from them. Tony's voice sounds much more pleasing to me on Sidewalk, and it's a good song about hobos.
Hey, you remember when we first started talking about No Use for a Name that Tony Sly has like he always seems like he always has something to say about homeless people. Almost every one of these records that we've covered, like there's it's like a recurring theme. And I don't know if that's just because living in San Francisco, there's a lot of homeless people. Maybe that's it, but it keeps coming up.
Yeah, we're all pieces in a chess game. He's a pawn. Very condescending, like the.
That's terrible. That's just a bad lyric.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing here makes it stand out for me. It doesn't do anything for me.
No.
3-month weekend. I think that the song title is better than the song.
Yeah, it's a great title.
Was all right. Would love to see what that 3-month weekend looked like. Probably make my liver hurt.
Yeah. My note on this one is that it's another song that I feel like I've already heard. Like the melody sounds really close to a bunch of the other songs. And
yeah, I mentioned that like everything feels like it runs off of a central like beat.
Right.
Like it doesn't. It's very boring. I wrote.
And again, the solo at the end of the song is really great, but
the
song otherwise is just kind of whatever. And there's like a flash of something interesting happening with the backup vocals, but like I don't know, I feel like I'm stretching it here.
Well, another repeated topic from a previous album, Sitting Duck. I thought Sitting Duck was okay. He's returning to the news and talking particularly about like the concept of if it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
here.
I do like the theme. I think it's interesting, but the song itself didn't do a ton for me, and it almost feels like a demo, like it's incomplete in a certain way. Like it's almost like it's missing parts. I don't know how to explain it. It kind of feels like a cut rate Green Day song to me a little bit too.
That like little guitar solo that's in there felt very like Queers or Screeching Weasel.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too.
Or Green Day even. It's probably the most interesting part of the song. Again, unfortunately, this is like the third or fourth track in a row where the solo is the most interesting thing that happens.
Yeah.
And honestly, I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I think this song should have been about half the length. The song is a minute and 21 seconds long, and I think that if you cut it in half, you'd be like, okay, cool. You're in, you're out, cool. But I couldn't believe that this song is only a minute 20 because I was like, how can it be this boring?
Right. How can a song so short take so long?
Yeah, I had that experience with a different album we're going to talk about this season. I'll bring it up then. Any more on this song, or
No.
I mean, the last song,
Ugh.
it's no thanks.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, get this Dropkick Murphys shit off of my album right now.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so Fields
That's all I have to say about Fields of Athenry. That's it.
Fields of Athenry. It's an Irish folk song cover, and it's 3 minutes 33 seconds, which unnecessary.
3 minutes too long, yeah.
And it's like electric folk music.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
I would definitely trim that from this album. I would trim about half the album.
Yeah.
This last track.
Make that a hidden track that I have to like fast forward 8 minutes to get to.
This last track made me angry.
It should be the negative second track.
Yeah, or
whatever,
like a reverse time track or something. Yeah.
Make it so
give it the
hidden,
Howard J. Reynolds treatment.
So hidden that if you stumble across it, you're just like, oh fuck, what did I do?
How do I get this off here?
I'm being punished.
Truly.
But guys, they got bagpipes.
Oh, good.
Nope. Don't want them. Take them back.
Yeah, thanks. The second it started, I was like, nope.
I saw that it was on here, and I was like, damn it, I remember that because I remembered it from the Live in a Dive. And I was like, I didn't like it there either. And I was like, fuck, I was like, so that's what record this is on. Shit, I forgot.
Do you think there's a real Mackenzie fan that is listening to this episode and just steaming right now?
I think a real Mackenzie
No,
fan
because if he's a real Mackenzie's fan, he likes the one decent Irish fucking punk band. I would listen to a real Mackenzie's record over a Dropkick Murphys record, I think, any day of the week.
I think a real Mackenzie's fan is listening to that song and being like, why did you do this?
That too.
It's just a thing that shouldn't have been done. Yeah, I don't know. I was actively mad at this song for wasting my time. So, this is a big no.
So final thoughts. Were there any songs that you liked enough to consider a favorite?
Maybe
off of this record, it would maybe be On the Outside, I think, probably. Just because I think it's the one that still rings my bell the most, probably.
Yeah. That or Invincible.
Yeah.
But if I never heard either of them again, it wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
All
right.
Well, I'm just like kind of blown away by the fact that this band had 2 members, like half the band essentially, change to be different people, and yet it sounds almost exactly the same as before. Like there's been no evolution whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because one person was writing most of the music, but like the fact that Chris Shiflett went on to do much bigger things with the Foo Fighters tells me that like I feel like he's probably really underused here. And like you can hear
I would
those
imagine so.
solos come through, and those solos are really cool. And I'm curious to know how the songwriting went. Like, did he
Yeah.
come in and just like, oh, I can do this, let's add this, and then Tony's like, okay, but it's still my song. I don't know. Like maybe that's not the case, but I'd be curious to know. It just doesn't feel. It feels like the solos add something, but the rest of the songs are just not interesting.
Yeah.
If anybody listening has any insight to Sly's songwriting, please drop us a line. I'd be curious to hear that too.
Yeah, it's just like my last note was really that if this came out like this year, I would be suspicious as to whether an AI wrote it. Like it was just like somebody threw a bunch of like punk records into it and we're just like, let's make some just like generalize this. And that's what it feels like to me.
I can definitely see that. That's actually really funny.
It's just not, I don't know. It just doesn't have anything interesting happening. It commits the biggest crime of being incredibly mediocre.
Yeah. I'd rather love or hate something than find it just like disinteresting and boring.
I mean, it's kind of the worst thing it can do to you, right? Rant over.
Okay. All right. So let's move on to the first of our rival records. The first one we're going to talk about today is Silent Majority, Life of a Spectator. Josh, why don't you kick us off?
All right. So I'm a huge nerd for like Long Island music in general for whatever reason. Just something about the sound that area of New York brings out completely grabbed me. From the first time I heard, like Taking Back Sunday and Crime and Stereo, a lot of these bands. Silent Majority is like the DNA of what pretty much every Long Island band you like going forward takes at least some little piece, I feel like, from Silent Majority. I don't know. I try to think of how to even phrase it. Like they're just kind of like for what Integrity was for Cleveland hardcore. I feel like Silent Majority was for Long Island hardcore in terms of like the influence and the sound. Because I feel like
that's a great comparison. I think
I feel like you hear so much of the vocals in other, like I hear a little bit of Glassjaw in here. I hear a little bit of Taking Back Sunday. I hear Crime and Stereo. They're a really weird band. And it's a very like acquired taste, I think. But I think the people that like it really love it.
You mentioned Long Island bands that you hear them in. I can even kind of hear bits of what would go on to be Latterman's sound.
Oh, absolutely. The vocals for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What songs did you guys like off this record? Did anything really hit you particularly hard?
So I thought that Polar Bear Club, the song off this, I think.
Yeah, which is I'm pretty sure obviously where the band got the name from.
Yeah. That band, or that, I don't really like that band very much, but that song is very good.
It's a nice punk rock like Call to Arms, I feel like.
So I liked Happy Hour and Public Opinion. But I, in both cases, thought maybe they were going to be covers. Those are pretty good songs.
Yeah.
And then the other one I liked, but I kind of felt like the entire premise of the song was really corny, was Taming the L Word.
Yeah, that's one thing is I feel like this band can be very dramatic. And I feel like that's one of the songs where that drama kind of really shows through.
Yeah, like they're talking about love, right? And they're calling it the L word, and that's just ugh.
Yeah, it's a very like but again, like time and place kind of thing too. I mean, like it was 97 or so. We're still really enamored with like this whole like mystique of like guys being tough and emotionally unavailable and unhealthy and all these really cool things.
Yeah.
Arthur Trevor, I think, is a really fun song. This is one of my favorite songs on the record. And it's kind of fun too if you're like a Long Island nerd, because it opens up with a prank call to what I am assuming is like a local like AM sports radio show. And this dude explains how he got into an accident and he wants to relearn to play tennis, and he starts working all these different like Long Island band names into the conversation. Kind of like that clip. Kind of like that clip from a couple years ago of, I think it was the Rob Dobie, the designer. He called into like a right-wing radio show and was like working all these like classic punk band names into like this like phony discourse. And it took them like 2 to 3 minutes before they finally picked up on it. I love goofy little, like cheeky little fun stuff like that. So it's a great way to start the song off.
I'd like to
And the
hear
song
that.
itself is just a banger.
Prank calls are awesome.
Dude, I love prank calls. They're still to this day, as a just shy of 40-year-old man, and still one of the funniest things ever.
I didn't pick up on the fact that it was a prank call.
Yeah, it's funny because he talks about how he goes by a Millhouse truck, and like Millhouse is an old Long Island metalcore band. He's like, the majority of my friends, well, like the silent majority, still think I'm not gonna be able to make a full recovery, and like it's all these weird little references like that.
That's great. I may have listened to this record like one time before this, but
Sure.
this was basically brand new to me. I agree. I thought my favorite tracks were Polar Bear Club and Arthur Trevor.
Yeah.
But I think Arthur Trevor was the one that takes it for me, because I thought that intro is so cool.
Isn't it great? The way it like fades in and out and stuff.
Yeah, and I like it. I really like how it segs into the rest of the song. And this band, I like it. A lot of like maybe it's the vocals. I don't know. It's like the style overall. It makes me think of Hot Water Music in a lot of ways.
I could definitely see that too.
Sort of like that their post-hardcore kind of quality to it.
It's got those kind of angular guitars, like those real sharp sounding guitars.
And then it feels like there might even be like a little bit of like a Doughboys influence as well. It's just like the style of the vocals at certain points made me think of Doughboys. So I can get behind all of that. Like like the Long Island sound was never like generally not my thing, but
sure,
I can really appreciate what they're doing here, and I can totally understand why people are really passionate about this band, because the music itself is really creative and very cool.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and like for this time period, I feel like it feels a little bit ahead of the curve too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can definitely see like there was a lot of music that came after this that very clearly took influence from it. So it's definitely great in that regard. But I'm curious, Ben, when you said you thought Happy Hour might be a cover, what did you think it was? Not the House Martin song, really?
I was hoping it was a House Martins cover.
God, I wish. That would have been so fucking good. I would have loved to have heard them turn that into one of these types of songs. I did think that Happy Hour, like, I was rolling my eyes real hard at that one. Like, are you really, like, blaming the bartender for somebody, like, being a drunk and ruining their family?
Yeah, that's a rough stance to try and take.
Yeah, it's the
like I completely get like the frustration behind where it comes from, but yeah, it's a hard angle to justify that blame pointing.
Yeah. Yeah, the lyrics were my least favorite part of it.
Yeah, like I said, the drama, man, it's it's a very dramatic song. Like he's not bullshitting about how he feels, that's for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that goes for the whole record, honestly. But
absolutely.
But there's a lot of cool music here for sure. Like a lot of cool songs.
Like I said, man, if anyone's listening is a fan of any of these, even all the way down, like I said, to Taking Back Sunday, like you can hear so many different like Initial Approach and DNA in some of these silent majority songs.
Yeah. My biggest gripe with the record was there were multiple songs over 4 minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot of really long songs on here.
half the songs on this record are over 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. Any other thoughts?
No, I pretty much got everything I had on it.
I'm good.
All right. Up next is Shelters Beyond Planet Earth. This is a fun record to do here because it is Shelter playing like Fat Wreck style music. And like their catalog is, I mean, it's quite a bit different from Youth of Today. But it's certainly not, Fat Wreck style pop punk and ska. And there are multiple songs like that on here. Certainly some songs that kind of get closer to Ray Capo's other band, Better Than 1,000, I hear in some of the songs. But yeah, I think it's pretty good. And yeah, it kind of dawned on me that this was something that we could use for a rival record. So what'd you guys think of it?
I don't know what
how
I
you
did
thought?
to you that you're punishing me by having made me listen to the Shelter record, Ben, but I apologize. I don't know. I didn't mean to
wow.
hurt you. I was not a fan.
So, there are some bad songs on this.
There's
In
some straight up
particular,
horrible songs on this record.
Alone on My Birthday is pretty
Helpless
fucking
is one
awful.
of the worst songs I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Um,
See, I fucking
Helpless.
agreed.
This record sounds like a band that is from a Disney Channel movie where a girl builds a robot to take to prom, played by Zac Efron, and I don't like it. There's a couple really good bangers, but there's so many songs where I was just like, how is like this sounds like a band that would have toured with like 311 and The Urge and Citizen Kane in like 1998
I could
on
see
like
them
a
touring
radio station package tour.
I could see them touring with 311.
But like it's funny because I don't know a ton of Shelter, and like I've heard some. I used to have, I think their first two records. I remember really digging them, and when I saw this was like a later era Shelter album, I was like kind of curious because that whole era of hardcore, when you get into like a band's later discography, it sometimes gets a little weird. Like there's that Cro-Mags record that sounds like a Newfound Glory album, which I think that's like the Harley Cro-Mags. I'm not even sure where the delineation of the Cro-Mags family tree goes at that point, but I was a little wary when I saw it was like a later era record. So it was kind of funny that those fears were justified for me.
So speaking of this, talking about this record reminded me of the fact that I threw it in the chat. Dax Shepard was recently had a picture of him taken wearing a Shelter shirt.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. I like the idea of Kristen Bell having to listen to Shelter in the car.
Right. In like a Buick Roadmaster station wagon, which was a car I used to own. Well, he has the wagon. I used to have the regular version, but he drives like a big like dad wagon.
So what were the songs that you thought were bangers?
Oh my God, what was the one? I have it written down here. It was a real fast one. Oh, Refusal. Refusal was one of the particular ones that really stuck out for me.
It sounds like
on a serious
so I'm not
note,
surprised.
you're right. It does actually. The thing that stuck out for me was it reminds me of Gray Area a lot. I hear a lot of like Ernie Parada in there a little bit. That's the one thing that it did kind of win me over in those aspects. Like when I hear those elements, but there was just so many songs where I just couldn't get into it.
What about you, Alex?
I was extremely unfamiliar with this, obviously, because I was so confused. I did not know that Ray Capo had like the ability to sing this way. I really only listened to Youth of Today, so I thought that was just what he did. So listening to this record, I did not put it together that it was him singing, and so after we were finished recording the previous episode, I made a comment about how I was like, oh yeah, Ray Capo does guest vocals, and Ben looked at me with a very confused look. And I discovered after looking at who's in the band, I was like, oh. Because he uses that voice on that horrible song Helpless, which is is a dreadful song. It's a cursed song, I will say.
Did you ever hear like the really, really, really old Bouncing Soul stuff, like the Greenball Crew?
Oh, I hate it.
That's what that song reminds me of that really old when Bouncing Souls before they fully fleshed out in like a punk band and they were playing those weird kind of like loose funk songs. That's what it sounded like to me.
Really bad. Like, just they heard Rage Against the Machine. And they're like, let's do this.
Right. Can we somehow just make this but like pop?
No, please don't. I think where this record really does work are in the catchy songs. I thought the first 3 songs in this record were really good. I thought
Yeah, I do. I think the opener's a really solid opener, I think.
they were doing the pop punk thing very well here. And then when they kind of just like mix that with the hardcore, like Rejuvenate and Refusal, I thought that really works. It's basically like it's in the vein of something like Civ.
Yeah, that's the other. It reminded me of like 13-Day Getaway, that last Civ record.
So I was definitely on board for a lot of that stuff, and like, largely I thought it was mostly good. I think the second half is much worse than the first half.
Yes.
Yeah.
All hyperbole aside, I do agree. I think there is a lot of cool stuff on this record, but it's the bad stuff I find to be so bad that it really kind of takes everything. It ruins the curve of the album for me, the grading curve.
Yeah. I'll take the first half of this record, not the second half.
If I'm remembering correctly, 11th Day of the Moon was an industrial track, right? Or something weird like that?
No,
God,
it's
I guess you could call it that.
think there's a heavy Quicksand influence on that one.
Okay.
And it's not bad. It's not bad. I don't think. But it's different. I mean, I think that's the problem of this record is it's a fucking grab bag. It's like we're gonna do all these different styles, and your mileage will vary.
I have a buddy who's like super into this era of hardcore, and I was telling him we were covering this album today, and he started pulling all this memorabilia from his collection. He's got like the promo singles for this song or for the album and stuff. And he said his opinion on why it's so varied is he thinks that it was just a Krishna thing to like throw as many styles in here as you can, to throw as many things at the wall as you can, to get as many different types of people into it as you can. Which in retrospect actually makes a ton of sense, especially because there's like a random fucking ska song like 6 songs in.
My question on that is like, is it a ska? Did they decide that it had to be a ska song about a total loser who's alone on his birthday? like this really makes sense that this should be a ska song,
right? He should probably it should probably be a ska track. Oh my god.
It's not even done that bad. It could have been done so much worse.
No, it was done pretty decently. Like, it's not a terrible song, but it's so.
But I don't want to hear it.
Far out of left field that you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
So in addition to what you guys have mentioned, I thought the songs Beyond Planet Earth and Time's Ticking Away were both really good second half songs.
No.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts?
Yeah, I thought Time's Ticking Away was like another one of those like solid hardcore pop punk type of tracks.
Yeah, like you said, those few that are like real punchy and quick, like they really kind of nail that.
Yeah, not. I mean, it surprised me how it was mostly good. Because I have no familiarity with this band.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. If you have any questions, comments, or most importantly, corrections on anything we might have gotten wrong, and we're playing very fast and loose today, please email us at ontherecord@gmail.com so we can set the record straight in a future episode. We'll be back next week to talk about Lagwagon's Double Platinum. Thanks for listening.